My name is Amir from Netherlands, and I love building things. I started from computer science, and once I graduated, I thought, oh shit, this is not for me. I want to become an artist. So I came to Netherlands. I studied at Art Academy. I graduated from Art Academy, actually, but then I ended up building a web browser for my art project. It's an open source project called Re in 2016. After that, I started another venture called Suslib, where we did a lot of experimentation around computer vision, machine learning, and natural language processing in combination with human-computer interaction and design interfaces back then in 2018. And along the way, I started also another site gig called, back then it was called Folder-based, then it became Repub, and now it's called Onbody. And today I'm going to talk about that a bit, but then further we are going to dive into a new phenomena that is happening at the current age. So since ChatGPT came around, we see that AI is becoming basically dominant in everyday life that we have, right? And particularly when you look at the way how we interact with softwares, with applications, you see users are changing. The mindset and the interactions is changing. We are not looking for information anymore. We are looking for answers, right? Soon users are not going to just spend 10 minutes in the website, click around to find a particular item, right? Or they're not going to do a lot of manual work to get to particular search result. So this mindset is changing, and therefore AI is kind of like affecting us to, or pushing us to also adopt our way and approach to how we design and we develop softwares. So soon AI native becomes basically, or AI first becomes the new mobile first. If you remember 10 years ago, mobile first was really a requirement. Everyone was talking about your website has to work on mobile, otherwise not. And nowadays it's just a standard. No one even talks about it. It's expected. And sooner or later, that's going to happen with AI. One AI features or completely AI native apps is expected, is a standard, and everyone needs to know. So now let's look into what the fuck is an AI native app? What is all this buzzword about? In my opinion, and the vision that we have at Onbody, we define an AI native app as basically a more human software. A software that can understand our language, that can interact with us in a more human language, right? Rather than just thousands of clicks around, typing a lot, etc., etc. We need a software that makes it human. But again, what the fuck is a human software? So here are three main characteristics that we can name for that. Personalized. So the software needs to understand what we have, what we need, what we know, should be aware of, should be tailored to each user. The second pillar is the context aware. The software should be aware of the context. What's the context? The context in IoT can be the room temperature. In a website can be the connection between two different sources of data, for example. I will explain it later. And it should be proactive, meaning that it should adapt to that new user mentality. It should give the users answers, not information. Let's dive into each one of these. When it comes to personalization and we want to adopt the software to a particular users, we are represented by our data in digital space, right? The data means for personalization, we need data. The data usually comes in two formats, right? A structured data and unstructured data. Structured data are those that are stored in databases like SQL or MongoDB, for example. But then we also have unstructured data, a lot of data like PDFs, presentation files, Google Docs, etc., that they have a lot of unstructured, basically, formats and data. So that's the first challenge. Keep that in mind. We will come back to it later. The second thing is the context. So you are all mainly developers, right? And it happens that you find a new framework, you want to go to the documentation, you come to a problem or an issue. The issue is not really answered in the documentation. So you go to, for example, the Slack channel or this Discord channel of that community, start asking the question, and you realize, oh, okay, someone else already 10 times asked this question and got an answer. So it's a very inefficient basically doing, but then imagine, and that's what I mean by context. So a documentation alone, the markdowns were not able to give you the answers, but the additional context around it, which is happening in the community, could answer you. It can also be happening the other way around. And that's what I mean, this connection of little islands. That's what makes the context. And the third one is the interaction, the new mental model in user experience. The understanding part. First of all, our software should speak the language, right? Should be able to speak in a more human way. And also it should be understanding the human natural language. In the world of AI, we call the first one, the understanding human part, we call it semantic search, searching based on semantics, meanings, right, rather than keyword searching. And the third one, the second one, which is the speak, is the part that AI should be able to generate either text or images, etc. Now we get to the fun part. How many of you, I assume everyone is a developer here, right? Could you raise your hand if you're a developer? Very high technical person. Perfect. How many of you have thought about building something with AI or some ideas, or you were wondering, oh, okay, we could have AI in this particular problem, or you wanted to do something with AI? Perfect. And how many of you have deployed the RAG pipeline? 2, 3, 4. Perfect. How many of you knows what a re-ranker does? Perfect. How many of you knows what fine-tuning is? Perfect. Great. My point here is that it's ridiculously complicated. And to be honest, when you are a non-AI engineer, it shouldn't be really like important for you. You still want to use AI. You want to integrate AI into your solution. But AI toolchain has been designed and built only by AI engineers for AI engineers. Anyone outside that is just excluded. This is a regular tech stack when you want to do like a simple Q&A bot that the data reads the data PDF files from Google Drive and build a simple interface on top of it. This is the entire tech stack you need to put together, about 12 different frameworks. And God forbid, should I say or not, you need to know Python. There is no other way around. If you know JavaScript only or C++ or anything else, no, that's not going to work. When it comes to a more high-level diagram, this is basically the regular, typical AI pipeline. It starts with data. You need to read the data from somewhere, right? The data is either on Google Drive, or it's on Notion, or it's on a Dropbox, or it's in a, I don't know, AWS S3 bucket, or a database, right? But this data, when it comes, you need to, every time it might get updated. So you need to have a live integration. Then once you have that, you need to process it. Processing means that you need to get the data, extract the useful information, clean it, format it, chunk it, a lot of weird stuff going on behind the scenes to get to a point that translated to a language that large language models and AI typically understand. That we call vectorization, right? I'm not going to go into the details of this. Of course, I'm here available after the talk, so you can go into the details. And then once you have it vectorized, you need a vector database to store it in. Of course, I guess you can, I saw an experiment, someone stored some vector numbers on MongoDB as well. You can do that, but it's not efficient enough. So you need a vector database. Sorry? It stores vectors. Yeah. Perfect. Awesome. MongoDB is a vector database. So MongoDB is here. Thank you for taking care of this step. So once you have the vector stored somewhere in the vector database, now it depends on your use cases. If you want to do the only part, the semantic part, you will just go simple retrieval based on the query or the prompt of the user and send the feedback. But then if you want to do more generative stuff, that's where, for example, the embed, like the LLMs, large language models, comes into play. So you need to be bridging to those, do all the conversions, etc., forth and back, and then you can have a generative response. Now let's see how we have solved it. We solved it like this. Onbody is basically a framework that automates the entire pipeline, from data aggregation all the way to AI functionality. This is how it works in 3 steps. You tell Onbody, my data is here. So you say, hey, this is my data, this is my data. Then you choose your own AI stack. You say, okay, I want to use OpenAI for text, Mistral for images, for example. It doesn't support that. Gemini for images, for example. Or I want to have a classification, or I want to have image segmentation of TensorFlow, etc. You build your own AI stack with a few clicks, and that's it. Then you can start query against the API. We have a GraphQL API, or just one line of TypeScript or JavaScript code. And that's what we are going to do today. How am I doing in time?
I didn't check, so you're good.
Perfect. So if you go to Onbody website, there is a dashboard here. When you log into the dashboard, it's a simple interface. You click on new project. A project, one project is basically where your data is scoped, is isolated. So each project has an isolated tenant in terms of data, right? So you can separate the databases from each other by creating a project. We are going to do another demo here. So we have presets. You can get started by the presets. So for example, per use case, if you want to just do search, you have various models or setups or presets. Onbody ones that are privacy-friendly ones that is self-hosted by ourselves, so we don't share the data with third parties. But you can also go with OpenAI or Cohere, or also Visual Search is one of the cool one. Or you can go with the generative Mistral to Cohere or OpenAI, or you can go with use cases. I will explain about this later. Or if you are a bit more advanced, of course, you can go dive in and then set up different parameters for each of them. OpenAI, for example, text embedding large, and for image vectorizer, there are different models, and any models on Hugging Face we support basically. There are also a bunch of features. You can enable automatic keyword extraction, etc. And then you can create a project. Once you create a project, now we can start adding sources. GitHub, Discord, Google Drive, Calendar, etc. So let's go with Google Drive. The first thing is that you need to connect it, of course. So now it's connected. Just to quickly show you also what we're doing here. So I have two drives on my Google Drive, my drive and shared drive. And from the shared drive, there is a drive called Onbody. In Onbody, there is there is a bunch of folders, demo1, for example. And here I have a lot of different files, from videos, from Tarantino. No, it's a random one, to images, to, oh yeah, this is the Tarantino video interview, a couple of articles in nested folders about electric cars. Each of them can have images, audios, etc. Doesn't matter. The structure doesn't matter. Tarantino also two articles about him. One of them is about Tarantino and Maradona. I don't know why. These are all generated, by the way. I didn't have much of choice here. So just random files here, right? So we go here, and then from those drive, you select. Onbody lists them all. So you say, okay, I want to work on demo1. So you need to choose one folder as an entry point. The entry point can be different. So for Google Drive is a folder, but for Slack is a channel, right? For GitHub can be a repository or a branch. Let's move on. Next, and initialize, and we are done. So at this point, Onbody goes and index all the files, read them, process them, do all the magic. And once it's processed, it's ready. Anytime you make a change in the sources, it automatically gets updated here. You don't need to do anything else. To save the time, I already have a couple of projects. The one that I have here, demo, it has 4 sources connected to GitHub repository from Onbody. One of them is a TypeScript client repository that we have. Another one is our roadmap. And Discord, and our Discord channel for TypeScript client that we develop, and the folder that I show you on Google Drive. I'm going to skip the GraphQL drive and going to jump right away to the demo. And I have 2 demos here. Okay, the first demo is in vanilla JavaScript. I know this is a React meetup, but we will get to React as well. But I think the simplicity will show off really good in the vanilla JavaScript. This is a semantic search. And what is semantic search? So let's say we want to get all the articles about electric cars, right? So we say cars. So the first two articles you see, it's about the e-cars. But now, let's say I want to get the articles about Tarantino without mentioning his name, and that's where the semantic search comes in. So I can describe Tarantino. So I say a movie director, right? And you see Tarantino jumps up. So, and there is no word movie director mentioned in any of these documents, right? And that's what we call semantic search. Okay, that's easy. Let's look at the code behind this. So in order to do that, you need to install Onbody TypeScript, right? Client. Then you initialize it using an API key and a project ID that you can create this in the panel. And you go here, and this is the entire line of code you would need for basically that search functionality, right? So to just show you again. So here, do you hear me, right? Oops. Okay, cool. Okay, so here, you can see we support Google Docs, image blocks, text blocks, GitHub. So any sources comes through, we also break it down into simplest forms: text blocks, image blocks, video blocks, and audio blocks. So you can work around that and have all those functions or queries on top of any of these sources that you want. In this case, yeah, that was Google Docs that I showed you. You can use basically the select function to select what properties should come back and search, and basically that's it. Let me also show you like auto topics, for example. These are the topics that Onbody essentially extract from automatically from these sources. Hello world. Let's do it again. Not sure what's happening. All right. So auto topics, etc. So you see, this is already extracted. It's already, you don't need to do much here. Now let's move on to the next example, generative. So here, when we talk about generative, the context becomes really important, right? And so here, let's say we want to say a movie director, right? And we say, hey, how is Tarantino? Or no, let's start with simple. Explain why all these docs are related, right? We give it a... So these documents are related because they both discuss the impact of legacy of two iconic figures in the perspective of the fields, etc., etc. And now I can also say, okay, say it like a joke. I don't know, just random stuff. Why? Because Tarantino and Diego are like two peas in a pod. So it tries to be funny here. So from this on is like ChatGPT or all those things, fancy things that you see, but based on those particular data. One of the techniques that you should always keep in mind working with LLMs, either using Onbody or anything else, the trick is, if you want to have a better result, always narrow down the scope of your context. The context matters. So that's why we combine two things here. Let me show you the code. We combine two methods here. We say, okay, search about context, right? So we narrow down the query. We search about the query. We narrow down the scope of what needs to be generated. And then we use this command, generate from many, which basically groups all those results. And based on this, we basically pass the prompt. We say, okay, now use the user query as a prompt into that. So that's pretty standard. Let me move on to the a bit more advanced examples. And here, let's say we go, this is a React one, and we are gonna, I'm gonna show you also the code. So here I have all the basically sources available here. Here I'm gonna say, let's say var method, right, and interface. That's one of the functions we have in the TypeScript client. And then we say summarize this, summarize the var interface for me. So again, we are going to do the same. And why this result happens? Because the Google Docs don't contain anything about our TypeScript clients, right? They are completely isolated. those are about Tarantino and electric cars. It doesn't know it. Again, it doesn't try like ChatGPT to give you an answer, or, because it, again, has a specific context. So now let's change this to GitHub comments, right? And now it goes and look at those repositories, and let's see what's going to happen. So now it has an answer. It goes and look into the discussions. What I can do here, I can say, hey, include an example. Oops. And it gives me how you can use this var method. And that's what I mean, like by connecting all these things together to make one knowledge base, one source of truth for your AI. Okay, now let's do one more thing, which is the image search. That's cool. So this is all the images we had on those Google Docs and Discord channels, etc. Right? Now let's go back to our graphical playground to just also show you a bit what you can do here. So Onbody, unlike any other AI platforms that are RAG, basically, we designed Onbody to be used in production for building the entire application. So it comes with a lot of extra features like CDN, image processing on fly, video hosting, video processing on fly. And what I mean by that, for example, if you grab an image here, that's a kill wheel, and then you can say width is 120. On fly, you can process it, or you can say, no, make it 1200, and this time apply a blur effect of 100. And it does it. So you can do all this, or you can crop it. We also come with some sort of AI module inside, so you can say crop to faces or etc. I haven't enabled it on this, I guess. But anyway, let's go back. So let's grab this link, and let's go here and search for this image. So we say, hey, give me back all the similar images to this. And you see the first one is that one, and so on and so on. In next step, we will enable the automatic image captioning. But at the moment, we do have automatic video captioning. So we can do the same on top of the videos as well. So for example, we can say what Tarantino said in that particular video, right? Or summarize that video for me. And it does it. What else? What else? Oh yeah. Now let's see what you can. Okay, so I show basically two examples. Let me go again to local here. So we have seen this. So you saw also this one. Now, another thing that we built, and we really try to rethink the entire design, how we do it, using a blogging platform example. So we started rethinking the blogging systems, like we have Medium, we have Ghost, and WordPress, etc., etc. We started thinking, okay, what an AI native blogging platform is. And we try to apply all those three pillars that I told you about onto that. And that is basically called Nextlog. It's an open source. So here, again, we give it only those folders, and this entire blog is generated by the AI. And we didn't do any curation, any tagging system, anything. So it automatically extracts the name entities, keywords, summarize for each article, group them like Netflix. It creates different categories for us to read. When you go, you can click on it and start reading per category. Each article, you can read it. And trust me, I built this in 1 weekend with Onbody. And if you wanted to build it, I dare anyone. Let's do a competition, but it takes a lot. It takes at least 1,300 hours, as we calculated. So you can see the blogs are there. Nothing is specific, but let's say I want to do click on one name entity. Then again, the user expects you not to show him, okay, what are the related articles to a particular topics like electric vehicles, but they want to know why is related. So you need to be talking to the users, and that's why it automatically transpile an explanation of the sort of search. Or what you can do, you can say, okay, now you can ask a question like, what is the? Let me remove this one, and you can say, what is the future of mobility, or actually how mobility, how is the future of mobility described in this blog, right? And so now it's gonna try to find an explanation for it, and again, you can have a conversation. Another feature that it has, it's a read function. That's where you can narrate or craft your own narrative of the whole blog. You can start with a starting point. Let's say I want to start reading about film industry, right? And then it's a start grabbing all those information or blocks about film industry and try to put it in form of a nicely, smoothly fluid narrative that you can read along based on that. And then you can keep reading, or you can change the narrative along the way and jump to another topic. We are working on this further, but these are just use cases to build. And basically, I wanted to finish my talk with, first of all, thank you so much. And also invite you to go ahead, give it a try. There are tons of use cases that I think, again, regardless if you want to use Onbody or not, the AI is coming, the AI first and AI native building wave is coming, and we should all be prepared for. And yeah, I would love to hear from you and your feedback after the talks. I'm here. Thank you so much. If any question, I'm here.